So I've noticed that everyone's talking about Bonfire being a $120, $130 card, but there's other cards coming out in this set. Yo, what is going on, you guys? Bashtianygo here, and today we are going to be taking a look at the top 10 cards coming out of Maze of Millennia, guys. Yes, I understand Bonfire is a phenomenal card and helps out a lot of decks out there, especially my deck currently, which is of course Fire Kings at the moment. It helps. Well, Fire King is everyone's deck at the moment. Let's just be real. If you guys have not seen the meme, make sure you guys check the community tab for Bashtianygo. But regardless, say guys, there's a lot of really interesting cards coming out of Maze of Millennia that I just don't think are getting enough attention. A lot of brand new cards, a lot of reprints as well. Don't get me wrong. We're getting the Rescue Ace reprinted. We're getting some Pendulum stuff reprinted as well. So I think we're getting some Magic Spectre reprinted. Don't quote me on that one. I don't remember that one exactly, but we're getting a lot of really cool cards that are going to be coming out brand new here in the TCG for us, and I think these are going to be worth mentioning. Of course, I want to go ahead and bring to your attention the top 10 cards that you guys should go ahead and pick up post Maze of Millennia, guys. With the set dropping in just a few days, I want to make sure that you guys are prepared, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright guys, so first up on my list is going to be a really cool card that I just made a video on yesterday. If you guys have not checked out the Shark deck profile I did yesterday with the combo tutorial, make sure you guys check that out. Link will be in the description. But Armored Xyz is a phenomenal card, currently pre-selling for around $6-7, which of course will plummet the second that the set drops, realistically, because I don't think a lot of people are going to want to pick up Sharks, but it really showed how Sharks can be a very viable deck this upcoming format. I am a big fan. I think it's going to be a really fun deck and extremely budget as well. If you guys got a budget player, check out Sharks. They are really undervalued at the moment, so definitely go ahead and mess around with that. I would highly recommend. But Armored Xyz is a phenomenal card. Pretty much target, so the card reads target one face-up monster you control and an Xyz monster in your graveyard. Equip that monster from your graveyard to that monster in the field as an equipped spell, and then it gains these effects. So it's going to give the card that's equipped to these effects. Change the equipped monster's attack to this card's attack. Cool. The equipped monster gains this card's attribute. Cool. Those are far less relevant, but the main one is at the end of the damage step, if the equipped monster is attacked, you can send this card to the graveyard. The attacking monster gets a second attack in a row, so you can potentially punch for a lot of damage with this, especially if you're able to go ahead and get this on a monster that's 3000 attack or more. Your opponent's going to be taking a smackdown beatdown from first of all, you're going to destroy whatever monster is in your path, and you're going to punch him in the face directly for whatever additional damage is dealt. So I think Armored Xyz has the potential to be a really cool card. Definitely a must-have if you guys want to go ahead and check out the Shark strategy, but definitely a card I want to go ahead and point out to you. Next up on our list, guys, I have Ashoka Pillar. Ashoka Pillar is an interesting card as well. I believe it's going to be a common or a rare, whatever it may be. It's not going to be a high sought out card, but I think it could be really interesting, especially in a mechanical build. So this card says if this card is summoned, normal or special, doesn't matter, just says if it's summoned, you can add one equip spell from your deck to your hand. Then if this card is in attack position, you can change it to defense position with 2200 defense and 0 attack. That's definitely a nice little effect to have, right? You can only use this effect of Ashoka Pillar once per turn. If this card is served by battle or card effect, you take 2000 points of damage, which is fine, because realistically with Mechanical, you can go ahead and summon this guy out in some type of way. It's level 3, and Mechanicals are level 3. You can potentially do still your number 30 lock, the Golem lock, potentially still, if that's still a thing with Mechanical. So it has a lot of really nice stats going for itself. Earth, level 3, functions well, searches equipped spells. It can also, in addition to not just being synergistic with Mechanico, synergize with cards like, or decks I should say, like potentially Infernoble, because it can search equipped spells. I understand it's not a Fire Warrior, but it can still search equipped spells for you guys. Also, it can directly search cards like Snatch Steal, which I think is really funny as well. The fact that you have finally a searcher for Snatch Steal, guys, I think that is why Konami brought the card back to just 1, because this card actually seems really busted if you go ahead and see it in that way. But only time will tell, guys, whether this card is going to be worth it or not. I think it's going to be a fun pickup. Definitely, if it's going to be just a common or rare, I say go ahead and just pick up 3 just in case. At number 3 on our list, I have Eye of Illusions. So Eye of Illusions is a illusion / spellcaster support. Basically, it says all your illusion spellcasters cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. Cool, okay. During which realistically it's got a little bit redundant, really, because illusion monsters already can't be destroyed by battle, except for that one that was recently released, which is going to be flowing well with Chimera, which I'm still in the lab with, guys, still in the lab with, so be patient with me, please be patient with me. So during your opponent's turn, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls, take control of it until the end phase as well. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls, accept the attacking monster, and change the attack target, performing a damage calculation. So it's like the magical arm shield, in addition to being also a like a quick play change of heart as well, which is really good, honestly. The only thing I would say about this card is that unfortunately that change of heart effects only during your opponent's turn, so this is going to be a much better card going first, and it's a great way to interrupt your opponent in case they really need that card. And the events you're playing up against Millennia, they normal summon, you quick effect just take that hoe and then you're good to go from there. You don't have to worry about anything. So it's a nutty card. I think it's a little bit more niche, but realistically with more illusion support coming out, I think this card will be a nice little pickup at 3, just so you guys can go ahead and hold on to down the line. The more illusion support we get, the better this card's going to get regardless. The next card I think you guys should definitely go ahead and try to pick up at least a play setup is going to be the Phoenix Gearblade. It might not be played at a playset because realistically this card replenishes itself, which is crazy to think about, but let's go ahead and read this card real quick. So equip only to a warrior or fire monster, not just fire warriors, any warrior or fire monster, which is nice, of course, having that little differentiate. So anyway, it gains 300 attack, period. Cool. So at the end of the damage step, if the equipped monster attacked, you can send this card to the graveyard. During this battle phase, each of your warrior and fire monsters can make a second attack. That, I think, is what's the real big kicker. You pretty much get a second battle phase, essentially. So that's ridiculous. At the end of the damage step, to a monster attack, yeah. So you just gotta make sure that whatever you're attacking with, everything is gonna be last in line. Send this to the graveyard, and then you get to go ahead and have everything just attack again. Having 2 battle phases is just ridiculous. I already talked about how Armored XZs can be wild by having that one card gain a second attack. Now imagine your entire lineup of monsters getting a second attack. So I think it's cool. I think it's definitely worth checking out. There's also an equip spell that you can search out with Ashoka Pillar, so we have synergy already in our top 10 cards. Honestly, I think it's cool. Also, if this card's into the graveyard banished to activate a monster's effect, you can add this card to your hand, so it replenishes itself. That's wild, guys. So Phoenix Gearblade is definitely a card you should definitely go ahead and keep your eyes on up for sure. Next is going to be a funky one, guys, but I think Photon Delta Wing is an interesting card for more stun-based decks. You just want to not let your opponent do anything, whatever it might be. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. So this card reads, if this card is normal summoned, you can special summon one Photon Delta Wing from your hand or deck in defense position. So whatever, you have 1800 attack and 900 defense monster, both level 4, so you can go into some XYZ plays. Let's go ahead and keep reading it, right? Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn except light monsters, which makes sense. It is a Photon card, so there might be some potential Photon plays you can go ahead and make. This actually would be really good because you can actually go ahead and XZ summon into Starliege Photon Dragon. I think that's the one that lets you search whatever galaxy. So this in Galaxy itself is crazy good. If you guys want to see a Galaxy Photon deck profile updated with this card, let me know in the comment section down below, because I think that would be really fun to go ahead and make. But I might just make it regardless, realistically. But your opponent cannot declare attack while you control another Photon Delta Wing. So that means you have 2 of these guys, your opponent cannot attack you. So as long as you're negating everything else and protecting these 2 guys, you are good and you are fine. You're not going to take any battle damage. Your opponent's pretty much going to have to play Runic in a sense, because they're not going to have to any battle phases regardless, because they can't attack you. So I think that's really interesting. I think Photon Delta Wing has a niche little centric piece where it can really shine in both Photon Galaxy decks and potentially some stun decks out there. But if you guys have some good stun deck ideas, definitely let me know in the comment section down below. But I know this with Photon Galaxy has the potential to be a pretty interesting addition. Next up on our list, guys, I have Clorless, not colorless, Clorless, Chaos King of the Dark World. We're finally getting this card, guys, after so long. So this card is actually an interesting read. Okay, so let's go ahead and just bear with me. It's a level 12 fusion, question mark on the attack and defense, of course, Fiend Dark. So it takes, if this card, let's go ahead and we'll hold off on the materials just for a second, right? So if this card is fusion summon, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls. All cards your opponent controls are now gone. Okay, now this card's original attack and defense become the number of materials used to summon times 1000. Okay, so you're most likely going to be using, so it takes 2+ fiend monsters in addition to Rainbow Overlord of the Dark World. So it's not the rainbow that we know, it's the other rainbow, unfortunately. But the other rainbow has an interesting effect as well, so we'll go ahead and get into that in just a second. But this card, you're going to be wiping, literally board wiping your opponent's entire board, not just monsters, not just spells, traps. Everything they have is going to be destroyed, which is inconvenient if you're going up against Fire Kings. But beside the point, guys. So with this being said, Colorless has the potential to just be an outright reset for the duel and just have a one, and you're just left with a 3000 attack monster, right? Minimum 3000 attack monster, which then you can just punch twice, or not twice, punch once. Or actually, if you equip it with the armored exes that I mentioned earlier, this could attack twice, and if you use 4 materials, has 4000 attack, that's direct damage, 8000. There you go. OTK confirmed. Once per turn, quick effect, you can target one face-up card you control, discard 1 card. Also, your opponent cannot target that card with card effects until the end of this turn, or for the rest of this turn. So it gives you a free discard, of course. You can even target itself. Now, this card can't be targeted. I really wish it would have had that already, but it's fine. At the end of the day, you're getting you're free discarding, so it's never going to be a bad thing, right? So let's talk about Rainbow Overlord of the Dark World just for a split second. It says if this card is discarded from your hand to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, special summon this card from the graveyard. If summoned this way, destroy all monsters your opponent controls or all spells, traps they control. So in the event you're able to actually go ahead and get this guy out in addition, you can actually board wipe your opponent twice. Once for spells or traps, and then the second time for literally everything they have. So I just think that's funny. To go ahead and tech at least one of these cards, specifically to make Colorless. I think Dark Worlds have a huge boost in viability because they just have this card. This card is absolutely crazy. And honestly, I'm excited to see what Dark Worlds are actually going to be doing, because they gain, like, Dark Worlds themselves, the brand new cards they've received. Dark Corridor was a stupid card. It's a ridiculously good card for Dark Worlds. Dark Worlds just has the unfortunate circumstance that it tends to Rick, and it tends to lose immediately to Drone Lockbird. So that is something to keep in mind moving forward as well, guys. But I think Colorless is a really great card. I think it has a huge boost for the Dark World strategy, and I think honestly it's a card, even if you're looking to play Dark Worlds or not, it's a card that I would at least have 1 or 2 in my inventory just in case. Alright guys, so we are getting to the more interesting, the more hyped cards of the set, guys, with Harmonic Synchro Fusion. This card, first time I read it, it absolutely blew my mind. First of all, it blew my mind. So this card says, send 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner monster face up on your field to the graveyard as cost. Okay. Special summon both of the following monsters from your extra deck. You summon 1 synchro monster that could be synchro summoned using just those 2 monsters, and you summon 1 fusion monster that's going to be summoned, that can only be summoned using just those 2 monsters from in the graveyard as a material. So you are getting a free synchro summon and a free fusion summon using just 2 monsters in this card. That is I've never heard of something so ridiculous and so outlandish in my entire life. This, yes, I did use it recently in an Earthbound Chimera video. If you guys have not checked that out, I'll leave it somewhere in here. Link in the description. Anyway, so with that being said, Harmonic Synchro Fusion is a crazy good card, guys. It has the potential to bring out a lot of really strong monsters. I can see it's being used in decks like DDD. I can see it being used in, obviously, the Earthbound deck, potentially Vanadium as well. There's so many ways where this could be really crazy good card, guys. And honestly, I think it's getting slept on for the most part. Harmonic Synchro Fusion is a phenomenal card that needs to get picked up, and you need to have at least 3 copies the second that this set drops. Now, I would not overpay for this card, but it's a card that has a lot of application, and it being a normal spell card, being able to be searched through Thrust, which is again another reprint in this set, has the potential to be a really consistent card. You can play this card at 3 or at less if you want to go ahead and search it out with Thrust. I just think it's really good overall all around. And in the event you guys are playing this in Earthbound Chimera, you can actually go ahead and search this card out. In the combo with the Earthbounds, you actually recycle this card back to your hands. So you're doing the same thing again next turn, which is wild to think about. This is probably one of the craziest Xyz monsters I've read in quite a few months. So number 1, Infection Buzzking is a mouthful of an effect. Let's go ahead and say it that way, right? So we're gonna go ahead and read it together. It has 3 separate effects, all of which are fantastic. Let's go ahead and get into it. It takes 2+ level 8 monsters, generic and generic. It's all level 8. Horus are level 8. Fire Kings are level 8. There's a lot of other level 8 cards that I can't think of right now, but I know there's a lot of level 8. The rank 8 toolbox is stupid to think about. Number 38, number 90, number 1 as well. They're all ridiculously powerful. Let's go ahead and start off with that, okay? I haven't even read the effect yet, just in case. So once per turn during your standby phase, you attach one card to your opponent's graveyard to this card as a material. Already good. Already good. Whatever materials you are going to be using, you just replenish it during your own standby phase. You take whatever your opponent's graveyard that might be useful, and you equip this card with the material, and you're good to go from there. Next effect. So you can only use each of the following effects. Number 1, Infection Buzzking once per turn. So there's no shenanigans as far as making multiple of this card and using the effects, which is fair. If this card is XZ summoned, look at your opponent's extra deck, send one card from it to the graveyard. So you are gaining immediate knowledge of what your opponent is playing without doing a single thing besides summoning Infection Buzzking, which is wild. Because if you're playing Horus, you just summon out 2 Horus monsters with, as long as you have your gold sarcophagus, summon this guy out, know immediately what your opponent is playing before you even normal summon. All you've done is activate gold sarcophagus with Obsedi or whatever it might be, special summon 2 Horus monsters and get you free rank 8 monster. You know, you have knowledge of what your opponent's playing. Your opponent's playing now with a 14 card extra deck because you're sending one of those cards to the graveyard. And in the event you are able to pick out specific combo decks, you can just take out the problem monster. Or you can just take out the one starter that they need in the extra deck. That way the rest of the extra deck is completely irrelevant as well. So that's just 2 effects, okay? Next, you can detach one material from this card, target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. Then, if you destroy a face-up monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the attack it had on the field. Not the original attack. If it was boosted and it had that attack on the field, burn your opponent for half. This is a great going first card, great going second card, and with the amount of decks right now that are playing rank 8 packages, this is definitely going to be one of the best ones out there. I could potentially see myself taking out my Dingir suit and my Fire King strategy to go ahead and play this card over it, because why not? Why not? It deals effect damage, which and I'm talking strictly from a Fire King's perspective because that's been freshly on my mind. Fire Kings don't really have a way to burn unless you want to play the Ferret Flames, whatever it's called, and this gives you access to do that just now. So that's really good right off the bat. 3 incredible effects. Card is extremely generic, and all the things I've been saying for the past 2-3 minutes, this card is definitely going to be one of those cards. It's going to be a main staple in each and every single extra deck. I can almost guarantee it. And the last 2 cards, of course, we're going to cover is going to be Transaction Rollback and Bonfire, which of course we didn't see that coming, did we? So Transaction Rollback, if you guys have been living under a rock, we're going to go ahead and just cover it together. If you guys already know Transaction Rollback and you already know Bonfire, go ahead and click off, that's fine. But for those of you who do not know, let's go ahead and check these cards out. So Transaction Rollback says, pay half your life points, then target one normal trap in your opponent's graveyard. This effect becomes that card's activation effect, so that period. Really good. You can pretty much steal your opponent's normal trap effects or whatever it might be, so it's really nice to have that immediately. Also, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then pay half your life points, then target one normal trap card in your graveyard except Transaction Rollback. This card's effect becomes that effect's activation. You can only use one Transaction Rollback effect once per turn. So, that being said, you can, if this card's on the field, steal one of your opponent's normal trap card's effect in their graveyard. If for some reason this is in your graveyard, you can banish it and target one of your own normal trap cards in the graveyard, copy its effect. With this being said, Labyrinth post Maze of Millennia will easily be one of the best decks in the format, strictly because this card lets you copy trap effects and just being able to activate just a second copy of the trap that you already activated. It's crazy to think about that it copies the activation effect, not the cost, copies the activation effect. So that's really crazy to think about. Transaction Rollback's going to be easily one of the best cards in the Yu-Gi-Oh game the second that this set drops. The second this set drops, this card's going in every single Labyrinth build. I'm not sure if it's going to be played at 1, at 3. I don't know Labyrinth that well, but I do know that this card is going to be a menace. It will most likely need to either get banned itself, or this card will get a whole bunch of other normal trap cards that we know and love banned. So it really just depends on what happens with that. And then lastly guys, we got Bonfire. So of course Bonfire is going to be on this list. This is the most hyped card, the $130 card, which if you guys have seen a recent Facebook post on Zodiac Duelist, if you guys don't follow Zodiac Duelist on Facebook, highly recommend. That's where you get a lot of really good information as well. So with this being said, Bonfire does not seem like it was short printed in the most recent Maze of Millennia set, so that is a good thing. That means the price should not be horribly inflated because it comes out at a very fair amount, according to the pictures that I've seen online. So in the event that wasn't a false post, and in the event that that was legitimate, I could see the price overall of Bonfire going down. And if for those of you guys who are wondering why Bonfire is a $130 card and why people are even considering trying to buy this card at $400 for the playset, it's $130, you know, you need 3, whatever it might be. This card, all it reads is add a 1 level 4 or lower pyro monster from your deck to your hand, harder ones per turn. That's all it says. It is reinforcement of the army for pyro monsters. So with that being said guys, there's a lot of really strong fire support out right now, like I've been saying, like we've all been saying here on YouTube for months now, so it's not a surprise to anybody. But with that being said, Bonfire searching pyro, especially the second that Photon Phantom Nightmare, I keep making that mistake. The second Phantom Nightmare comes out guys, we're going to be getting Snake Eye Populace, which is a pyro, and that card is 1 card full combo, or what's it called? What's the deck I play? Fire King. Fire King as well. Fire King easily being one of the best decks of the format, you are going to want to play it at its most optimal. I will not be purchasing this card if it is 100 plus. That just seems ridiculous to me. That's just my personal opinion guys. Like I said, I'm not in control of anyone's wallet. I just personally see if there's a good deal, I'll go for it. This does not seem like a good deal. It just seems like it is horribly inflated prices right now because of course the set has not released and a lot of people are selling off of hype, which is understandable and it is fair. If you guys want to go ahead and take my advice, whatever it might be, again, I'm not a financial advisor, but again, I would not buy Bonfire for $100 or more. Anything less, something that's worth considering, especially if you're going to be playing at a high tier, highly competitive event. But I'd easily see this card dropping dropping in price the second that the set drops, because realistically, yes, everyone's going to want 3 of this card immediately, but with everyone cracking open Maze of Millennia for this card, this one card specifically, because it is meta defining, as you can see over in the OCG as well. I just think there's going to be a lot of copies out there, so supply demand I think is going to match and the price will drop. But that's my personal opinion. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I only took 1 course of accounting in college, so take that with a grain of salt if you will. But that's going to be it for the video guys. Let me know what you guys' top 10 cards coming out of Maze of Millennia are. Is there any cards that I left off the list that should be on the list? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk about it. Let's bring the melting pot together. But without further ado, hope you guys did enjoy. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you guys in the next one.